What's up, everybody? It's Aftermath Digital here on the YouTubes. Nug Nargang hosting in the chair today. And, of course, we've got Anthony Corelli, Jimmy Corderas, and Kevin Mickey. And we're going to get to our wins for the week that was, especially following Hell in a Cell. And, Jimmy, we're going to start with you and your big win from Hell in a Cell.
Well, I hate to keep sounding like a broken record here, but Roman Reigns in this current iteration of this person that he's become is off the charts right now. He is entering a territory where he is not only must watch television and pay-per-view and matches, he's must listen to in the ring as well. These little conversations he's having with Jey Uso. I also got to give props to Jey Uso because he's been able to hang throughout this rivalry as well. But the next level storytelling and the psychology going into this match and just drawing, for me at least anyways, drawing me in. I am so invested in this iteration of Roman Reigns and watching, the whole package. Even Paul Heyman on the outside, who's, conspicuously quiet, because Paul Heyman is usually the mouthpiece for somebody. Roman Reigns is speaking a lot for himself. I just love where this is going. And so far, dare I say he's entering Randy Orton level territory when it comes to, being engaging, if that makes sense.
Reigns has been so good for me. And for me, I knew that I was really buying in because when I was watching the end of that Hell in the Cell match, I got very quiet and I was super invested in, again, what you said, Jimmy, listening to what they were saying, listening to what they were talking about. I wanted to know, they were speaking so quietly, but so emotionally that I got very quiet myself. I drew me in and I actually got super invested in the results of the match, how they were getting there. I wanted to hear what commentary had to say about what they thought about Reigns. I thought it was just top marks all over the place. I'm with you, Jimmy.
It's interesting because it's a byproduct of the COVID thing that's going on because there's nobody there in the audience. This crowd's not screaming, so you can actually speak lower and the microphones will pick you up. That's something we couldn't have before. I mean, the ringside microphones would pick something up, but you'd have to really be loud. But I think when you bring it down, it's almost like a television movie level as opposed to theatrical level. And I think that's what is appealing, perhaps.
I really appreciated the storytelling. And for me, I'm always excited about what's next. And so seeing Alpha and Sika was like, I had chills because that's the Samoan dynasty. That they're the heads of the family, and they made Roman part of that dynasty. They made him part of he's the tribal chief. But going forward, was it Michael Cole Tom Phillips on commentary said now the Usos have to fall in line because that's the rules of the family. So going forward, the Usos might reluctantly fall in line, but after a while, don't you just start going along with it? Don't you start enjoying being part of what Roman has going on? I can see them slowly becoming part of that faction, and I would expect more people to join. If Roman is doing this well and is persuasive enough, I think more people could join that dynasty.
No, you're absolutely right. And it could go actually in different directions. It can go that way. The Usos could join that dynasty, but you can also get the brothers having a little bit of a disagreement because, Jay said, I quit, not for himself. He did it to save his brother. And then his brother can come out and maybe even say, listen, I didn't need you to save me. Or you know what I'm saying? There's so many possibilities. There's so many avenues. It's not just one direction that this can go. And that's the beauty of, there's no right or wrong. It's what works. And there's several things that can work here.
It's interesting because, like you said, now that he's the chief, if they don't follow suit, they're kind of in breach of that
code,
social contract that they have. And then that's very interesting. So they're going to be forced to follow along whether or not they agree with the tactics or not.
That wasn't the only great thing that happened this week. Kevin, you had a big win from Hell in a Cell as well.
Yeah, I think that Anthony also has something similar. So, let's talk about what I think is what now we can call a legendary rivalry in sports entertainment. And that is Sasha and Bayley. Holy crap, did they tear down that house. That was such a good Hell in the Cell match. Now, I went into it knowing that they had the capabilities of putting on a good match, but you know what? I don't think I gave them enough credit for being able to pull through with a classic. And I think that that's what they gave us. They pulled out all the stops. They had so much stuff going on. You know, they had chairs, tables, ladders, fire extinguishers. Jimmy, they had Gaga. Yes, they did. And I thought that it was absolutely outstanding the whole time. And this just brings that rivalry even higher on the tiers of amazing rivalries. And that is, they had the first amazing NXT match. They had an Iron Woman match. They've continued their rivalry into WWE. I don't think that they really had anything to sink their teeth into match-wise until this. They had met, they'd done some things, but nothing to this level. And I think that this match will go down for both of them as one of their best in their careers. Particularly Sasha, I thought she was spectacular athletically, selling-wise, everything that she did in the ring. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Kate, they came up together and they wanted to prove to the world together, and they wanted to be the best together. And, you know, must be nice, right? Here's my best friend, and we want to make history and have this classic, absolute, legendary rivalry. And you'd think, like, at first you'd think, like, well, you know, you can't just wrestle with your friend. Like, I'm sure you guys are gonna, but they delivered over, it's been years now that they've been delivering, like literally years. And they've definitely cemented themselves. Now it's time to separate, and now it's time to go do some individual stuff. But what a run, man. Incredible. My win is similar. It was just Sasha, when she just held the title up, it just looked right. I was trying to put it into words for so long, and that's all I could really come up with, is that when she held it, it just looked right. And I'm looking forward to seeing her title reign and where it's going to go. Hopefully the rivalry is done, because knowing when to exit is really important. And I think this is leaving at a climax, and now would be the right time to get off the ride. But what a job they've done, you know. And the fact that they have that close bond, I think really enabled them to push and try and make history. When you have two like-minded people saying, hey, I want to be a good wrestler, I want to be the best, you might not click. But when both people say, I want to be the absolute best, I want to be the showstopper, I want to be legendary, and they're on the exact same page, that's when you get that flow back and forth. And I think that their goals and their determination and their motivation and all those things are completely in sync.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. And I think we said it last week that this match had the potential to steal the show, and I think it absolutely did. And to kind of tie all three cell matches together, it's very difficult when you have three similar matches on the same pay-per-view, but the pay-per-view is Hell in the Cell. But at the same time, what I enjoyed most was each cell match was different in presentation, and they all told their own stories, and they were all, I thought all three of them delivered, but at the same time were different enough where you weren't seeing the same thing. And like you guys said, Sasha and Bayley were creative, innovative, and did stuff not just for the sake of doing stuff. Everything they did meant something in that cell, and I enjoyed it very much.
I like both Sasha and I like them both. I just have a hard time when Sasha's wrestling, because I can't put aside yelling, please don't hurt yourself, no matter what she does. I think she looks like she's just hurling her body around into whatever happens to be there. And I don't know if she's that good at making me think she's putting herself in danger, or if she's that not good and is actually putting herself in danger. So I have a really hard time separating myself, going, oh my God, please don't die, every time. Like, Sasha will fold herself in half after a dive, and I'm like, oh my God, you're dead. It's difficult for me to separate that. Sometimes I think she's fantastic, and I know the internet thinks she's fantastic, and other times I think, oh, you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna die. So I have a really hard time with that. Also, I'm going to put it out there. Every time she's won the Raw Championship, she's lost it immediately on her first title defense. So I'm going to see if she's still snake bit and is going to do that with the SmackDown Championship. No matter who she faces next, there's a very good possibility she loses that title immediately.
I think I was thinking that too, Nug. Actually, it's funny because I thought that, like, man, Sasha could be such a good long-term champion. Oh no, she's gonna lose it the next week on SmackDown.
That's right.
But I think that she really should hang on to it for a little bit, at least a little bit, so we can get at Survivor Series, we can get Asuka Sasha, because I think that could be a really, really good match. And man, do I want to see that. To Anthony's point, let's move on. Let's create some other rivalries. I know that Asuka's on Raw, but let's give Sasha something else to sink her teeth into. Let's give her the opportunity to put the sheen on somebody else in this case.
Yeah. And then I'll get to my win. My nephews love Otis. I love Otis. I think Otis is hilarious. I think he's a lot of fun. I love that he's no longer Mr. Money in the Bank, and I love that that case is in the hands of The Miz. And Anthony, I know how much you are anti-Miz. I get it. But I'm a huge fan of a horrible person having the Money in the Bank case, and Otis is the least horrible person maybe on the entire roster. So I'm thrilled that Jerk Miz has this case. It's 10 years since he's had it, 10 years since he cashed in on Randy Orton. He's a threat to cash in on pretty much anybody. And if you think about Otis cashing in, do you want to see Otis cash in on Randy Orton and become the champ? Do you want to see him do it against Roman Reigns? Could he have done it with Tucker, with the tag titles? They talked about it. And now, thanks to Tucker, he doesn't have that case anymore. And I'm on board with Miz being Mr. Money in the Bank.
Yeah, bad guys are generally opportunists and not good guys. So it should always be a bad guy that has the Money in the Bank briefcase, because they're going to strike as an opportunist. And believe it or not, I was actually very happy when I saw Miz had it, because he's the right amount of obnoxious to carry that thing around and put it in your face. And that's what it's supposed to be for.
No, I agree. I agree with both those points, but at the same time, Nug, you mentioned Miz from 10 years ago when he had the Money in the Bank briefcase. That's the Miz I'd like to see now, not the smarmy, funny guy with John Morrison and them cracking jokes all over the place. I want him to get into maybe that old school Miz, like revert back a little bit. Yes, I get you being a little bit different, but yeah, it's weird talking about Miz in an old school.
Old school Miz, guys.
Old school Miz.
He's been around long enough.
True.
Yeah, you know what's funny though is you talk about old school Miz, and like at this point, Miz as a wrestler, I buy him way more as a threat than Miz 10 years ago. When Miz was in the ring 10 years ago, I was like, meh, doesn't seem like as much of a threat. Now he's carried around the Intercontinental Championship enough that I think, like, this guy can actually do some damage in the ring. So I think that this Miz is the perfect amalgamation of old school Miz, he's so old, and new school Miz, that it's really a great thing. To your point, Nug, I mean, like, what if the Fiend became championship? Was Otis going to cash in on the Fiend?
Well, what do you want? Like, he's Chris Farley, and Chris Farley is hilarious and a great best supporting actor. But is he a lead actor? He had his shot and was just comedy the whole time. So now I'm seeing Otis in that same role. Is he the lead actor? I don't know.
Yeah.
Guys, what do you think? You got to let us know on Twitter. Make sure to tag Jimmy Corderas with all your comments and questions. If you agreed with Jimmy, if you didn't agree with Jimmy, let Jimmy know and leave us out of it. But come back to YouTube and we'll let you know what our fails are. Stay tuned.